Welcome to the Fourth and Fast Break Podcast. I'm your humble, delight, and always blessed host, Joshua McCain. And on today's Wednesday, August the 12th edition of the Fourth and Fast Break Podcast, I'll be breaking down my top 10 point guards in the NBA for the 26-27 season. And also, I will be talking about does the NFL have a developmental problem when it comes to quarterbacks? And I'm going to start off with the NFL subject because I saw this tweet from Sam Block on Twitter, and he said J.J. McCarthy benched, Justin Fields benched, Zach Wilson benched, Dylan Gabriel benched, Anthony Richardson benched, Kenny Pickett benched, Trey Lance benched, Mac Jones benched, Will Levis benched. And he said the NFL has a QB developmental problem. And I just had to go into, they got a lot of traction, got over 20,000 likes on Twitter, and they got a lot of traction. So I went and did a little research, and I wanted to go back at some of the guys who have been developed, some of the guys who have done, well in the NFL, maybe that sat and developed or was just developed organically by the team. And I have an opinion about this because I've been hearing about it for 4 or 5 years now, and Tom Brady came out and said, these quarterbacks, they're not, developed well coming into college, coming out of college, coming into the NFL. And a lot of people say, well, the NFL has a developmental problem. And it could be two ways to look at it. One, could it be the NFL has a problem with being patient? Because is that even a head coach problem? Is it an offensive coordinator problem? Is it a GM problem? Or is it an owner's problem? Because when you look at it, if an owner is not patient, because we already know the fan base is not going to be patient. Like us as fans, we're not very patient with our young guys most of the time. Like sometimes we can say, okay, we'll take some losing, but after about a year and a half, 2, you be like, okay, this is getting bad. And we can't, we don't want to sit here and watch our team just continue to lose or watch our starting, supposed to be future of the franchise quarterback be bad or be mediocre. And owners have a hard time with, they want it right now. They want butts in the seats. They want, fans there. They want winning team. They want the quarterback to be right quickly as possible. And I have a way of looking at it. My opinion has always been, do not have a quarterback sitting, a rookie quarterback sitting that you picked early in the draft that you expect to be your future. There's no need for him to sit behind a quarterback who is just there, to play some games, to be a game filler, because he's not learning behind him. He's getting the mental reps and everything, but sitting behind a quarterback who, he's a lame duck quarterback who's might not even finish the season out, may not even get halfway through the season. By Columbus Day, he may be benched for the rookie quarterback. It doesn't do you any good because that means, one, the quarterback in front of you wasn't much good, and 2, your team's probably bad around that rookie quarterback coming in. So you're just putting him in a bad spot anyways. And we've seen it time and time again. They say, well, we're going to let this quarterback sit and develop. But at that point, you say, well, what's the point if they're going to sit behind a guy, then now you're really developing behind a guy who is not better than him. If you're going to sit a quarterback, he needs to be better than him. At the time when Tony Romo came into the Dallas Cowboys, Drew Bledsoe was a better quarterback than him because, Tony Romo came in undrafted. Then 2006, Tony Romo takes over the reins. I think it was week 7 or 8 against the Giants, and the rest is history. And he became, one of the more prolific Cowboy quarterbacks in that team's history. Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 seasons. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre for 3 seasons. Quarterbacks who were better than them, especially at the time they came in, because we knew Aaron Rodgers. They changed a lot of things about. They developed him. They worked on his passing, the way he passed, his footwork. Jordan Love, basically the same thing. We saw they had the attributes in college, but let's bring in a quarterback. We have a quarterback better than him already. Let him sit for a few seasons. And let them sit and learn, and let's coach them up because now we can be more hands-on and coach these guys up. Mike McCarthy does a great job with it. That's why I believe Drew Aller, he's in a good spot because Mike McCarthy's going to coach you. He doesn't have to really coach Aaron Rodgers right now with the Steelers. And I think Steelers fans should have some type of Steelers fans should be very, optimistic about Drew Aller because Mike McCarthy is going to coach him virtually personally because that's what he did with Aaron Rodgers when Brett Favre was there between his first two seasons in 06 and 07 coaching the Packers. So when you have a coach that's going to sit down and be able to coach him because he knows the guy in front of him is already, he doesn't need a whole lot of coaching. Now you can really help develop these quarterbacks. That's why you see, the Packers do what they've done from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. Even the Cowboys, you saw they was able to go. They had some, off years, but then they end up getting another franchise quarterback who they got undrafted in Tony Romo. And then they turned around and got another one who came in. Dak Prescott came in hurt. Not came in hurt. He came in because Tony Romo was hurt in his rookie season. And I went through a list of some guys. Not only Rodgers, Love, Romo, you have Patrick Mahomes who sat a season. Tom Brady, he, sat the first few games until Bledsoe got hurt, but he was behind a quarterback that, he was a 6th-round pick, but he was behind a quarterback that was, better than him, was the franchise guy at the time. They weren't expecting Tom Brady to become the franchise guy and the greatest, quarterback of all time. Then you have Kirk Cousins, who sat basically 2 seasons behind RG3. Brett Favre was traded after his first season. Then Mark Bolger, who a lot of people don't really know, he made 2 Pro Bowls in the in the early to mid 2000s, and he sat behind Kurt Warner for 4 seasons. So a lot of times when you sit, in my opinion, when you sit and develop, let them sit and develop, but let it be behind a guy that's already better than them, and it makes sense to sit and develop. Because sometimes sitting and developing, and you're behind a guy who's not better than you, it kind of defeats the purpose. And then I'm going to talk about a couple guys here that were high draft picks, but just like I said, the owners were patient. They were patient with not only the coach, but the GM, because a lot of times they're not patient with the coach to be able to coach these guys up, and go through a little losing, go through some lulls of the coach. The quarterback doesn't look that well. Josh Allen, his first 2 seasons, he went, the 7th overall pick. His first 2 seasons in 2018, he was 52% completion percentage. He had 10 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. That was his rookie year. In his second year, he went 58% completion percentage, 20 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. And then in 2020, we know Josh Allen became the Josh Allen we all know as a top-tier quarterback that he is now. But they allowed the Bills to be, Sean McDermott and the GM being to be patient with Josh Allen. Sometimes you just need a little bit of patience. And that's what the NFL really has, is a patience problem. Then, because you look at J.J. McCarthy's, first-year stats, and that was last year because he missed 24 with an injury. And I'm not saying J.J. McCarthy is, Josh Allen or any of these other guys I'm going to talk about. But J.J. McCarthy goes 57% completion percentage and 11 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. That's almost, the same as what Josh Allen's rookie year was looking like. And so that's very comparable to, what, and me personally, I was not a fan of J.J. McCarthy coming out of Michigan because I didn't think he did a whole lot in terms of passing the ball that you could see that would be translatable to the NFL. So I thought it was a little bit of an overreach. But like I said, quarterback is a hot commodity. And if you watch the film enough, a lot of these GMs and scouts, if you just watch the film enough, it will show you some things. They'll be like, okay, oh, yeah, he can do this. Oh, yeah, he can do that. And then look at the coach we have, and Kevin O'Connell, who is a really good quarterback coach. And they're saying, well, after 1 year, is it not working? Because, they just named Kyler Murray the starting quarterback. Is it not working? But I don't think you're really giving it time. And like I said, even though I don't think J.J. McCarthy's a franchise-type quarterback, at least I don't think you're giving it a chance to even try to see, what do you really have? And he probably will end up still playing this season because I don't know if Kyler Murray still has the goods in him anyways. And then you look at Dak Prescott, his first year was phenomenal. He goes 67% completion percentage, 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, won Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then in 2017, his stats went down, 62% completion percentage, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. And then that was 2017, 2018, 2019 was pretty solid seasons. And then he really got with the coach and Mike McCarthy, who now Dak Prescott, since 2020, when Mike McCarthy got there, he's looked like a totally different quarterback. He's a guy that you can build the offense around, and that's what they did. And at first it was, let's build this offense around, let's let Dak, do, and they used to call him Dink and Dak because you had Ezekiel Elliott, you had that offensive line. Now, okay, let's, we're going to have a good, keep a good offensive line, try to keep a good run game. But I think Dak can really lead us to top 5 offenses, and he has, the past 3 or 4 seasons. So it was the patience they had with Dak Prescott, because even after 2017, and then when it looked like, I remember the people were saying, on TV, that people had found out about Dak. They had film on him, and he's not going to be as good because he's a 4th-round quarterback, and there's only so much a 4th-round quarterback can do. But I think Dak Prescott has made a really good career for himself. And then the last quarterback I want to talk about, Jared Goff. Now, before Sean McVay got there, Jared Goff, his first year, his rookie year, he had 54% completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in 7 games played. And everybody was like, oh my goodness, Jared Goff is about to get ruined, because at the time, the Rams staff wasn't very offensive oriented and didn't have offensive coaches that could really teach him up. Well, then he gets Sean McVay, and then he goes 62% completion percentage this second year, 28 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And then he kind of falls off a little bit between 2019, 2020, and everybody was like, oh my goodness, Jared Goff. And then they trade for Matthew Stafford in 2021. They trade him to the Jared Goff to the Lions, and they said, well, he may be done. And then he gets with Ben Johnson. It kind of, re-energizes him, and it kind of puts something else in his brain. It's like, oh, they kind of unlock something. Now Jared Goff looks better than he did early on when he was, having those high-powered offenses with the Rams. In his first season with Ben Johnson, his second season with Ben Johnson, he goes 65% completion percentage, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and ever since then, he has been a top, a upper level, definitely better than middle of the pack quarterback since 2022. And that's, just with development, and that's with good coaching, because is good coaching not around the NFL? I don't think so. I think there's some coaches that can't get it out of a player. And then sometimes you just say, well, the player is just not, he just doesn't have it. And, let's go back, to that list. J.J. McCarthy hadn't really had a chance to really see, but Justin Fields got benched in 2 spots. He got benched in 2 places, basically. Really 3. Chicago got rid of him before, they went out and got Caleb Williams. But he got benched in Pittsburgh for Russell Wilson. Maybe Steelers fans agree with that. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But then he got benched in with the Jets. So maybe sometimes guys just don't have it. Zach Wilson got benched with the Jets, and then got traded to the Dolphins. Really didn't get any shine over there. Dylan Gabriel is a 3rd-round pick. It's only so much you can really, try to. He's a rookie too, so it's only so much you could really try to, work hands-on with him, coach him up, and then you had another rookie quarterback, beside him or behind him in Shedeur Sanders. So it's all about survival of the fittest. Which one's better? Anthony Richardson. A lot of people thought he was over drafted. He got picked 4th, and he only had really 1 season of film in college. So sometimes, you just think, maybe this guy just didn't have it. Kenny Pickett had a solid end to his rookie season, and then it just fell off, and he couldn't do anything. And a lot of people was like, oh, George Pickens, he gets to Dallas and he looks like a top tier receiver, because he's always been that. But this is a quarterback you had in Pittsburgh. It was, Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields. So there's only so much George Pickens could have done. Trey Lance, hurt, didn't have it. We see what Brock Purdy is in San Francisco. This is a good quarterback. He may not be just upper tier level franchise quarterback, all franchise quarterbacks, but he's still a solid to good quarterback. Kyle Shanahan can get it out of you. Sometimes you just don't have it. Mac Jones, we seen he looked good in San Francisco, his backup action when he came in to play for Brock Purdy. Kyle Shanahan now. So you say those 2 guys, well, one was bench. New England just didn't have they didn't have the right coaches over there, one, to really coach up Mac Jones. Will Levis, I could say he don't have it, because you got rid of another rookie that you had over there, well, that was drafted the year before him, in Malik Willis, and we see Malik Willis just got, a big contract with the Miami Dolphins. That's when he got, traded from the Titans back in 2024, nobody would have saw that coming. I definitely didn't see it coming for the Packers, because I thought when Jordan Love went down at week 1 against Philadelphia, I thought the season was over with Malik Willis being the starting quarterback. And we see he came in and got 2 wins, and then he came in last year, looked really good in both games that he played. So a lot of times, can you say it's a developmental problem? And it can be two ways. It could be a bad coaching problem, yes, but then it also could be just you don't have much. What I'm looking for, you don't have a lot of patience with these players, and I think the NFL has more of a patient problem with quarterbacks than they do a developmental problem. Because, like I said, just like I can give you, well, some guys weren't able to develop on certain coaches. Then again, you have some guys not even getting the chance because the owners, the GMs, they have, the GMs and coaches are feeling so much pressure. We got to go with something else. So there's a two-way street with that tweet that I saw. And like I said, it's not all the way wrong, in my opinion. But in my opinion, I believe patience is a virtue. And patience with these quarterbacks to see, do they really have it? And some of those guys on the list got chances to show if they really had it. Some may not, but you just have to find, for quarterback is always, can he be in the right situation? Can you put the right situation around him? That's a lot of time, most of what it is. And he has to have the goods too. Now, and that's a very important part. That's the most important part. He has to have the goods. If he has the goods, then we can put something around him. And some just don't have the goods. And that's okay. Everybody's not meant to be a franchise quarterback. Everybody that gets picked early is not meant to actually be a no-brainer franchise quarterback. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now I want to transition over to my top 10 point guards for this upcoming season, going into the year 2026-27 NBA season. Now, my honorable mentions, I'll start off with, is LaMelo Ball, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Trae Young from the Washington Wizards, and Keontae George from the Utah Jazz, and Kyrie Irving from the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie, and LaMelo, Trae, and Keontae, he's right outside the top 10. Could they jump into the top 10? Most likely they could. I think Keontae George is in for another really good season. Now you add in Darren Peterson. Jaren Jackson's going to be hopefully healthy. Lauren Marketing. So that should be a fun team, fun starting lineup in Utah. Trae Young. Trae Young I think he's still going to have the same kind of numbers, 23 and 10, 23 and 8 type season. LaMelo Ball, now all the weight is off of Anthony Edwards and him. So now that should be a fun duo over there in Minnesota. And then Kyrie Irving coming off an ACL injury. With Cooper Flag, Kyrie is now, I would definitely say, a number 2 option still. But so it's not all on him to come back and just be super Kyrie Irving. He can, come back and play a role of mentor and leader, hopefully for the Dallas Mavericks and Cooper Flag. So starting off on this list, number 10, have De'Aaron Fox. He's coming off a season with 18 points, a game, 6 assists. He shot 48% from the field, and he was an all-star this past season. He's a very polarizing name after really especially in the NBA Finals. I said he couldn't really get past OG Anunoby at all. Dylan Harper was the only really guard they had over there in San Antonio in the Finals that could consistently get to the rim, consistently get past his defender. And I put a lot of that on De'Aaron Fox for really, I know a lot say, well, you on the court, no excuses, but De'Aaron Fox, he did have the high ankle sprain going into the Oklahoma City series, and he never really looked the same. He didn't have the same burst. He didn't, he couldn't get around the court the same. And I think that really hurt him, and it hurt the team that he was not fully healthy. And like I said, a high ankle sprain is it's not just, I rolled my ankle, but I should be fine. This is, some ligaments have been messed up a little bit. So it's a tough injury to have. And he had it and came back early in that OKC series, but he just never looked the same from what he did early in the playoffs. So De'Aaron Fox is still, in my opinion, a top 10 point guard. And I would definitely have wanted him if he was on the trade block for the Detroit Pistons. Because he could still play. He still was an all-star last year. And that's why I still have him in the top 10. At number 9, I have James Harden. He's a polarizing figure when it comes to the playoffs, but in the regular season, he's still 23 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. He shot 43% from the field this past season. He has now have a whole year he hasn't re-signed with the Cavaliers yet, but he'll have a whole year with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think the offense will look even better. He's a guy. He's an offensive engine in the regular season. He'll take some of the load off of Donovan Mitchell, the offensive load that he has to carry over off Donovan Mitchell in the regular season. And James Harden, like I said, he still can put up the numbers. He still can put up All-Star numbers even at the age of 36. So, and I think he's for Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, he's what they definitely need over there. And I know reports were coming out saying LeBron would have went to Cleveland if it would have been Darius Garland there and not James Harden. And I think a lot of that was, is one, the age, and then Darius Garland, and then two, James Harden and LeBron James play very similar. So there's no point of LeBron was going over there. But James Harden, in my opinion, is still a top 10 point guard in the NBA. Number 8, coming off a career year in his first All-Star appearance, very deserving, Jamal Murray. He had 25 points a game, 7 assists. He shot 48% from three. From the field. And then he was a third team All-NBA and All-Star. Like I said, very deserving. Jamal Murray, every year seems to get better. He's the perfect partner for, Nikola Jokic. And he's a guy that can get the guys in the right spots. Like I said, Jokic gets all the praise with the passing, and very, well deserving. But Jamal Murray is a really good playmaker for other guys too. He just doesn't do it as flashy as Jokic is, and it doesn't look as great because Jamal Murray's 6'3" point guard, and Jokic is almost 7 foot. But Jamal Murray is a guy that breaks you down off the dribble. He can create his own, and he's just been a guy that's consistently been consistent. Jamal Murray kind of reminds me of how Mike Conley was, those 2010s where the West was stacked with point guards, and it's like he's always going to be behind the Steph Currys of the world, the Chris Pauls of the world in the early 2010s, and it's like now Jamal Murray's going to be behind once again Steph Curry, Luka, and SGA. So he doesn't get the credit that he rightfully deserves. But Jamal Murray is a top 10 point guard in my opinion. That's why I have him at 8. At number 7, it's Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey coming off of 28 points a game, 6 assists a year, 46% field goal percentage. He was a second team All NBA and an All Star. Tyrese Maxey is officially the face of the Philadelphia 76ers. I know Jalen Brown's there. Joel Embiid's still there, and LeBron James just came in. But like I said in the LeBron James episode, when I was talking about what teams he should go to, Philadelphia would be a great team because now the reins is off to a young guy. Tyrese Maxey, still in his early 20s. He's coming off a career year in the regular season, and he's like I said, he can get better. And I think right now, I think a lot of people might think he's a little bit better than what he is, but what I think, but Tyrese Maxey probably will end up getting better, and before long he will be definitely a top 3 or 4 because he has that much skill, he has that much ability to him, athleticism. Sorry, I doubled that word up, athleticism. And he's that quick burst. He's a guy, and he can beat you 1-on-1, but he struggled in the playoffs, with winning 1-on-1, especially against the Knicks. But Tyrese Maxey, I definitely expect him to get even better and probably extends up this list by this time next year. Number 6, I have the returning player of Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton was out all last year. He tore his Achilles back in the 2025 NBA Finals against OKC in that Game 7. He is the prototypical guy when you think of point guards back in the days of when I was smaller in the early mid 2000s. And he's the engine for what the Indiana Pacers are. And it's so crazy because, like I said, last time we see him on the court, that year he averaged 18 and 18 points and 9 assists. So you would say, oh well, how's he the offensive engine? But you think about it, the way they run, they get the ball, whether it's out of bounds or off the rim, the ball's in his hands. We're running. We're getting it going. Quick, fast offense, and he opens up the floor for Pascal Siakam to do his thing, Andrew Nembhard to do his thing, Neesmith to do his thing. So now you have Zubac, a really good rim runner, center who played well with James Harden, and Tyrese Halliburton kind of gets you in that ilk of being able to be a floor general. And now Zubac now has that again. So I like. I like what Indiana has, and then and of course I really like who Tyrese Halliburton is, and like I say, he's the prototypical guy that we talk about when we talk about point guards. Number five, next two guys might be a little controversial, I guess, but number five, I have Steph Curry. He's still top five at his position, still one of the better players in the league. The next five guys are probably they're all top 15 guys in the NBA. So Steph Curry coming off of 26 points, 5 assists season, 46% from the field. He was hurt a lot of last year, so he didn't get any awards, after the season because those numbers he most likely would have been a second team All NBA player, or at least third team. But he would have been an All NBA player with those stats throughout the whole season. He is the reason why the Golden State Warriors are still on TV. He's the reason why they're playing on Christmas. He's the reason why they're playing the second. Well, it's not opening night. The second night of the NBA season on ESPN. He is the reason guys will still show up to the Golden State Warriors games. If it was not for Steph Curry, the Golden State Warriors would be back to being empty seats in that stadium. But Steph Curry is still top of the top type, player, even at his older age. He's still a guy that's best 3-point shooter in the league. He still creates. He still can get to the rim. He's just an offensive player that it's hard for me to see him slowing down. I think Steph Curry is one of those guys that retires and he could still give you another 2 seasons. He just retires because he's just, maybe don't want to do it anymore. But Steph Curry is still the top five point guard in the league. And number four, like I said, this is where the controversy may come in. I still have defending champion Jalen Brunson, coming up with 26 points, 7 assists season last year, 46% from the field. He was second team All NBA, and he was an NBA champion. And like I said, Jalen Brunson is the guy who you can stop him all game long. It does not matter. He's going to keep shooting, and he's going to find a way to end up beating you. We saw that game one in the NBA Finals against the Spurs where he looked really bad through 3 quarters and a half, and he still found a way to beat the San Antonio Spurs on his own in the fourth quarter because that's just the kind of resiliency he has. He's like I said, he's one of the best scorers in the league, and he's a guy that you just can't count out. And like I said, New York will be relevant as long as he's on the court. They will be in good shape, and they always will be in good shape because that's just the type of game that Jalen Brunson brings to the New York Knicks. The reason why I said this would be controversial because a lot of people may not think the guy I have right in front of him better than Jalen Brunson. But the 3 guys that are left on this list are all first team All NBA players. So I mean, like the media and coaches, like they believe that these guys are the 3 best point guards in the league. Number 3, I have Cade Cunningham. He came off a career year for what he was able to do assist wise. He goes 24 points, 5 rebounds, 10 assists, 46% from the field. He's first team All NBA player. 1 game away from making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I wish I was able to watch the Pistons and Knicks because I thought that was the 2 best teams in the East all season long, and we did not get that matchup. But Cade Cunningham, like I said, he's a guy he's the engine of the team. He'll get out and play defense. He's a guy that's will be handle the scoring load. He's a guy that still get his guys in positions, still get him in good positions to whether it's off the short roll, whether it's off the pick and roll, lobs, getting them open threes, getting them open looks. You don't speed him up. He's gonna play at that 1 speed all game long. Um, it's a special player, special player. Like I said, these next 3 guys are special players. Now and even coming up in the coming up years. But Kay Cunningham at 3, and then I have at number 2 a guy who, had scoring explosions this past season. Luka Doncic, 33 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 47% from the field. His first team All NBA player as well. He had that streak of like 30-point games where he just was, killing guys. Yeah, Luka Doncic, before he got hurt, he was man. It was a special season we were witnessing. He was scoring, he was assisting, he was rebounding. He has it all. He just can't play defense. And It's just sometimes just a genetic thing. It could be, like some people just don't want to, and I wouldn't necessarily say Luka just doesn't want to. I just don't think he can. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just can't. You literally just can't do certain things. But everything else he can do. He can pass it, he can rebound it, and he darn sure can score it. So that's why he's number two. And like I say, he'll be here because the number one player is back-to-back league MVP, SGA. 31 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 55%. 55%. 55% from the field as a point guard, as a perimeter player. He shot 55% from the field. That is insane. Um, yeah, this is the best player in the NBA. Not just best point guard. This is the best player in the NBA. There is no guy as like he was hurt a little bit this past season. But I don't think it's a superstar more durable than him. I don't think it's a superstar that I just don't think you can replace him with any other guys in the league, and the team just looks exactly the same because of who he is. He missed Chet in the last 2 years. He has missed Chet and J Dub for long stretches of the season, the last 2 seasons. And the OKC, OKC Thunder, they don't look any different because if number two's on the court, it's kind of like a great quarterback in the NFL. As long as sometimes a great quarterback is just on the field, it does not matter who else is around them. They'll find a way. They'll find a way to still etch out 12 to 13 wins. Your team will get 12 to 13 wins because that quarterback is just so special. And SGA, a lot of people just don't understand. I get the foul things. I understand it. I totally get it. But I don't think people put in perspective how incredible the last, 3, 4 seasons for SGA has been. He's a guy, like I said, you could see I watched him at Kentucky and what he did to Tennessee in that SEC championship game. His long season at Kentucky, and I was like, oh yeah, he's good. I I'm not sure how many people thought that he was going to be. I'm the best player on the team, and everything I do matters. And if I'm not there, then that's when this team is not going to look good. Because we saw when he was out, OKC did not look the same at all. The offense did not look the same. They struggled a lot offensively getting anything going. I remember OKC played Detroit on the ESPN game, and like I said, it was a back and forth kind of game. And then fourth quarter came, Detroit just ran away because there was no number two on the court. And then the second time they played them, there was no Cade Cunningham, but Detroit stayed in that game almost all game. But it was SGA who was the reason OKC just was able to put this game away. A lot of times when you have a guy like that, the sky's the limit for your team. One of the greatest players of his time in SGA, and he's no doubt the number one point guard in the league. And so that's what I have for you today. I'll be back Friday. We'll talk about preseason games from tomorrow, Thursday. We'll break down what I saw in those preseason games. But until then, take care of yourself and each other.